every little part of what I do was affected in some way by OCD, from like the script writing process to when I'm recording, like, and editing, especially when I would like record a line and then I would tell myself, oh, you said it a certain way where now this bad thing is going to happen. So you need to record that. You need to say that line again. You need to feel right. It made it hard to make videos, which is the thing that I love doing more than anything. It stops you from doing the things you love.
Whether you realize it or not, you probably know someone with obsessive compulsive disorder, or maybe you love someone with OCD. And if those two don't fit, you might be the person with obsessive compulsive disorder. Because of this, OCD awareness is so personal for all of us. We hope that raising awareness will bring hope to everyone and their friends and their families who are affected by obsessive compulsive disorder. When we recognize what OCD really is, it offers us a couple of options. We can see the signs in ourselves and others much quicker. That can help to end a great deal of suffering. NOCD is the world's leading OCD treatment provider, and I'm honored to lead a team of licensed clinicians who are specially trained to accurately diagnose OCD and provide the treatment of choice, exposure and response prevention, so that we know that we can give people the lives that they want to live and help them not live the lives that OCD wants them to live. In addition to that, for OCD, it means applying the work that we do to other conditions that often come along with obsessive compulsive disorder, such as body-focused repetitive behaviors, tics, hoarding, anxiety disorders, mood conditions, trauma, and even body dysmorphic disorder. If any of these are things that are affecting you or your loved ones or family, know that help is available. If you're looking for help, you can check us out at NOCD.com. That's NOCD.com. Our goal is simple: to make sure that nothing, not OCD, not stigma, not misconceptions, gets in the way of you living the life you want. You deserve to focus on things that bring you joy and meaning. Helping you is just personal to us. It's what we do. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Get to Know OCD podcast. As always, we're happy to have you here. And if you're looking for other episodes of the Get to Know OCD podcast, you can subscribe to the NOCD YouTube channel or get it wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcasts. Today, Jay Aubrey is here with me, and I'm excited to chat with Jay about OCD symptoms, diagnosis, and all the cool things that you do on YouTube as well. So Jay, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I really appreciate you having me. This is great.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you and the fact that you have millions of followers, it appears, which is impressive. Very nice.
Well, thank you. I mean, I make video essays on YouTube. I usually talk about people that I think are interesting. Maybe they've been in the news for one reason or another. I talk about people that are online figures. I talk about people in the mainstream as well. Just anyone that I think has an interesting or maybe controversial story to tell. I try and present it in a narrative form, try to produce as holistic of a picture of this person as I can, and try to, put my commentary into it as well. It just depends on the topic, but they usually end up being like hour and a half long, like mini armchair documentaries is how I would describe them.
In addition to that amazing work, no one comes on the Get to Know OCD podcast usually without having something to do with OCD. So let's make just an assumption. There's a little bit of OCD going on in your life as well in this whole situation.
Yeah, there's more than a little bit, you can say.
Good. I'm glad you caught my joke there. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's been something that I've dealt with since I was maybe in 6th grade, I think, is when I started to notice symptoms. Everybody has their own OCD journey, but I know that one of the common traits associated with OCD is washing your hands, and that was something that that's how it started for me. It was when I was I guess like 12 maybe. I just I would get anxious about something, and to make myself feel less anxious, I would just go and wash my hands a million times. And I didn't understand it at the time, but like that would help me feel better. And it got to the point where that was like it was like a coping mechanism almost. I would just wash my hands constantly. And it got to a point where I was washing my hands so much that I was developing like calluses and like eczema on my hands because they were so like dry from all of the hand washing. It sounds ridiculous, but that was what I was like really dealing with back then. And then it just kind of went from there. There were other intrusive thoughts that would come into my mind, and I would think, oh my gosh, like I don't want this bad thing to happen, and so I need to do this thing. I need to do this ritual in order to make these bad thoughts go away. And it just kind of would spiral from there and just get worse and worse over the years. And I would never talk about it because I never knew how to explain it to somebody who maybe didn't understand what it was. And I also didn't know what it really was for many years. It was only, I think when I turned 18, I remember hearing about OCD and hearing the symptoms and hearing what it was like to go through that. And I just was able to pinpoint immediately. I was like, that's what I've been experiencing. And so that kind of changed everything when I could actually place a name to what it was that I was experiencing. And then it's still been very much a journey ever since then. But, knowing what it is and understanding the different ways that you can go about mitigating these, compulsions, that has really helped me get to a place where I feel like it's under control. And, I do credit NOCD with that, like genuinely, like, going through
awesome.
everything with NOCD has been fantastic as well. Very helpful.
Cool. Well,
yeah,
I will get to treatment, but I think there's some interesting questions to ask you. And I haven't gone this in depth on this, but maybe if you wouldn't mind a little bit of kind of exploring within the brain. You had talked about, there's something uncomfortable going on. So washing your hands feels better. And I think for people without OCD, that's something odd, right? That I feel weird or off or bad or something emotionally, but I'm doing this physical behavior as a way to try to neutralize it.
Yes.
What was the link for you? And I don't know if you can even explain it or not, because sometimes these things just don't seem to have obviously a rational quote unquote experience there. But what was the link for you that you could be emotionally uncomfortable and then gain emotional comfort by doing a physical behavior like a hand wash or something like that?
Oh man. Yeah. That is something that I've wondered about, because it's something that I've discovered along, my journey of having OCD is like, it's less of a ration thing and it's more of a feeling thing. So it's like, it makes me feel better in situations where I maybe don't have control to feel like I have control. So it's like, okay, I don't have control over this thing that I'm afraid of happening. Like in my mind, I'm afraid that this thing is going to happen to like my loved ones or something. And so like, I can't control that. So I can control washing my hands. And in my mind, that is a way to keep them safer, even though I know logically completely that there is no link, like I'm very aware that there is no link. It's just about feeling like I'm in control, like I have some degree of control over something in my life where I have no control over, and that's been difficult, for sure.
Yeah. And that can be one of the hardest things for me to try to explain to people who don't understand OCD. That their OCD uses like a different logic than we use in non-OCD world, right? In non-OCD world, if you walked up to somebody who was having a bad day and said, "Hey, I've got the cure for you, just go wash your hands, all will be well," they would look at you like,
I know.
What?
Yeah,
my hands are fine. But someone's dying in my family. I don't think that's going to stop that from happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in OCD, that's suddenly it's like, oh, well, what a fantastic idea.
Yeah. I feel much better for 5 seconds until now I have to do something else, because it doesn't make the feelings go away. It's just for maybe a brief second, you might feel satisfied and feel like things are going to be okay, but it doesn't address the root like thing that's driving the obsessive thoughts. It's just a way to feel better in that brief period of time. It's difficult.
And it's not an intelligence thing. It's,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
people say, well, why don't they just stop it or just tell themselves to stop it?
yeah,
Or aren't they smart enough to figure it out or something? This has zero to do with that. This
yeah.
is all emotion driven
Yes,
and emotional satisfaction driven
yes.
and emotional relief driven for people
Mhm.
instead of an intelligence or a rational kind of experience. Would you agree?
I would completely agree with that, and it honestly took me so long to realize that because
Yeah.
I just there was I just struggled. It was like I know that this isn't like affecting anything in my life, like the hand washing and like, I would like tap on like, like the doorknobs and stuff, it's like, or check the oven like over and over and over to make sure that it's like actually off before I leave the house, like I don't know. It's like just to make myself feel better about something that's totally unrelated. I know that there's like no like, tangible link there. So it's just coming to terms with that and understanding that it is an emotional thing. I mean, that has helped me so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Once you realize that,
Hmm.
then I think maybe the treatment seems
Yeah.
more palpable, right? Like this
Yeah,
idea of,
absolutely.
you want me to face these fears and not tell me I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And yes, because there's no amount of telling you you're going to be okay that's going to be satisfying to you anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Mhm.
you really just have to, show to yourself, you have to prove to yourself that like, you can deal with the uncomfortable feelings, for like, however long they last. Sometimes it can be maybe 5 minutes. Sometimes it could be 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. It really just depends on how intense those feelings are. But you can withstand that. And you have to prove to yourself that this thing that you're afraid of happening, it really has no connection. I think you have to show yourself that there is no connection there sometimes. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, when you do give in to those compulsions and you do like, oh, you wash your hands to make yourself feel better, it does, I feel like in my experience, it like reaffirms something in your mind where it's like, oh, because this bad thing didn't happen, it was because I washed my hands, and so I better just keep doing that, and then it just gets to a point where you're so afraid of this bad thing over here happening that it's almost becomes easier to just like, oh, I'll just wash my hands just to be sure that everything's okay, and but you don't realize that you are sending yourself deeper into a spiral that it's going to be hard to come
Yeah.
out of, by getting into that. Yeah.
I joke sometimes that I have a new product coming out called Block of Wood. It will sell for $19.99, and you just need to keep it in your pocket. And when you need it, you just take it out and knock on it, and all will be well. Nothing bad will happen in your life, and everything will be fine. And,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and that's kind of what OCD's like, though, in a way, right?
For
It's like,
sure, yes.
this makes no sense, but why not do it anyway, just in case?
Just to be sure,
Yeah,
because
just to be sure.
I was so afraid of like, well, if this bad thing does happen and I didn't do the ritual, I'm gonna blame myself. I'm gonna feel like it was my fault somehow. That's what I'm always like. That's I do have it more under control now, but like at the peak of my like OCD, like that would be at the front of my mind. So I'm like, okay, I better just to be safe, might as well do this so that I don't have these feelings of like guilt if the bad thing does happen. That was like a big thing that drove my compulsions as well, I would say.
And OCD being kind of the jerk that it is, it'll be like, oh, you found a way to circumvent me. I will circumvent your circumventing of me. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
now there's more to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It can be a hard thing to really break loose from sometimes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know of anyone who's ever done enough compulsions to the point where OCD has said, hey, we're good now. Everything's fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice work. You finally did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I've had it for, years and years, and I've never gotten to that point where it's like, yeah, it's like, you're good now. You're totally, no more compulsions. You've done all of them. Yeah.
I think the hardest thing then for a lot of people, and when I do my Wednesday webinars, this comes up all the time,
Mhm.
is that fully acceptance of, it doesn't matter what OCD throws in your head, whatever thought, whatever image, whatever urge, that you just don't need to do anything about it. And the and is important here. It doesn't say anything about you or your moral character or anything of that nature, that you've decided to just let that thing be there and move on from it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I think that was something that I had struggled with a lot too, where it's like if I don't address this thing that's like really like, at the front of my mind, I am somehow like you know, treating it without the gravity that it deserves, maybe like the thing that I'm afraid of happening. But really it's the opposite. It's like you want to help yourself out by not like really doing everything you can to not do the compulsion. It doesn't mean that you don't care about you're not afraid of this thing happening. It doesn't make you any less like, I guess uh sincere. It's just but I can understand that feeling for sure.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Definitely, definitely. So you figure this out,
Mm-hmm.
you learn what OCD is,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounds like treatment might have waited a little while for you
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. I really did not seek out treatment itself until more recently because I just I've done enough research to know that like it ERP therapy, which is what's needed to treat OCD, is a lot different than traditional talk therapy, and how talk therapy doesn't always treat OCD in the way that it needs to be treated. And so that always kind of like, I guess, put me off of looking for a therapist, because I just didn't want to go through the trouble of finding someone who could like really understand what I was experiencing. I felt like it would just be so hard to explain to someone, and
Yeah.
that I mean, I had thoughts, that like maybe I would explain all of these feelings to somebody, to like a therapist or a professional, and they would think I was like crazy and like try to get
Hmm.
me admitted. That was something that I was like afraid of, so I just didn't seek out therapy for the longest time. It was a daunting thing to really think about.
Right.
Yeah.
If only there was a company out there that specialized in that.
I know. Yeah.
I don't,
It's crazy.
it's so weird. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What leads you to finally decide I can't do this anymore this way? I need to take the risk. I need to do
Yeah. I mean, there would be times where it would just get so bad where I could barely function, like
Mhm.
throughout the day. So I would be trying to look for any sort of relief that I could. And I would search up, the symptoms that I was feeling, and like, try to see if other people were experiencing that. And through those, like, I would just read other people's experiences. And that would like help ground me, because it would let me know that I'm not going through this alone.
Sure.
That was really helpful. And through that searching, I found NoCD. And it was years ago that I found it, and I downloaded the app on my phone. And what I used all the time, I didn't contribute to it, but I did use the community feature
Hmm.
on the app.
Hmm.
I would like, whenever my symptoms would get really bad and I needed some way to ground myself, I would just go and read what other people were saying, and I could see all these people that also were going through similar things.
Hmm.
And it just made me feel like, okay, this is not like, you know, incredibly abnormal. This is something that other people experience. And that means, to me, that made it seem like it was easier to tackle and easier to like push back against, and so before I was doing ERP with a therapist through NoCD, I was trying to integrate elements of ERP in my own life myself, which I know is not
Gotcha.
ideal, but that was what I was doing for a long time, because I knew that, and even before doing a ton of research, I understood that like the only way to really stop these thoughts is to stop giving them credence, and to stop like or to stop the compulsions. I mean, like, it was to stop like treating them as if they are the cure to these thoughts that I was experiencing. And so
Hmm.
I would try practicing that, and I would start small with like little small obsessions that I had that maybe weren't so earth shattering. I would just resist the compulsions that were associated with those. And I would notice myself feeling a little bit more like I could, take on the day, and like not have to go through all these monotonous like rituals, and I felt my mind could be clearer. But there would always be times where something would happen in my life, and I'd feel some heightened anxiety, and then they'd all come back and it would be hard to fight against, you know what I mean? And so having that like treatment with a therapist where we can sit down and I can tell my therapist about what I'm feeling, my specific obsessions and compulsions, and then finding new ways to look at them, you know, like that helped me so much to just talk to another person so that it's not internal. All, you know, you really, like, I can't emphasize enough to people that are experiencing OCD that like it helps so much to just talk to someone and have someone else there that can hold you accountable and make sure that like you're not giving these compulsions any more credence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I use the
So,
word credence a lot too. It's
yeah.
a great word to describe, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
OCD just wants credibility.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
you know, look at by having done this now, horrible
Mhm.
things have not happened. It must be related, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, or that thing was not going to happen anyway. But OCD
Yeah.
took credit for it, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
the
that's
thing.
horrible. Yeah. Exactly. That's what keeps you in that loop is because you're like, well,
Hmm.
I got to keep doing it.
Yeah,
Because it's worked in the past, you know, but it's like, you still know it's so weird. Like you said, it's like two different tracks of like reason, you know, it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
two different tracks of thinking. Cause it's like
Right.
rationally, I know there's no connection, but at the same time, I don't know. I've been doing all these compulsions and this bad thing hasn't happened yet. So I might as well, you know, just keep doing it. What's the harm in that? And then before you know it, it's just taking over your entire life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
OCD takes credit for all of the good things that have gone on in your life. And I'm going to bet that I'm right on this next statement. It took no blame for any bad thing that went on in your life. You were
Yeah.
to blame, but OCD was never to blame for anything that went wrong or the way you didn't want it to go. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's completely correct. And it's so
Hmm.
interesting that it works that way.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that I've noticed over the years where it's like, oh, if this bad thing that I was afraid of happening happens, I'm not thinking about, oh, this is because I didn't do the compulsion. I'm thinking, you know, of whatever it was that led to the bad thing happening. I'm not thinking about like, I don't know, the build up to it in terms of like my OCD. But if something good happens or if the bad thing doesn't happen, then yes, I do attribute that to the you know, going through with the compulsion for sure.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a fascinating condition in the sense that it can so, without anybody really noticing it,
Mm-hmm.
creep in and take over your life. And one day, and tell me if this happened to you, one day you kind of look around and go, how the hell did I get here? You know, just
Yeah. Yeah.
where did that come from? Right. That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Before you know it, you have this whole routine that's maybe built around compulsions that you have to do or else you don't feel right. That was something that I was experiencing at the height of it as well, where I was noticing like, oh, wait, I have to do all these things exactly right before I go to sleep, you know, or else I don't feel like I'm going to have a good day the next day. And that was something that kind of built up over time without me being totally aware of how much they were piling up until they're all there and you get to that point. It's like, oh my gosh, you know,
Hmm.
it's overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you make the decision. It's time to go to treatment. Was there kind
Mm-hmm.
of a kicker for that it was just like, I'm done with this, or was it just the buildup finally got there? I'm always interested in what's that tipping point for someone to finally decide it's time to talk to somebody.
Yeah. For me, I feel like I waited until it was a little bit more manageable actually, because I feel like it would have been a much more difficult experience for me if I was at the height of it almost. And
Okay.
so like I I I just happened to go at a time where my compulsions were not as bad, and so tackling it through therapy was just a little bit easier because of that. But I absolutely wish that I had gone through it much earlier on, because that would have saved me so much time and so much stress. You know, that would have saved me years worth of stress if I had gone and started like actual therapy much sooner. You know, I really wish that I had done it at the height of it, because in therapy, they teach you to just tackle it head on. You know, you attack it. And it was difficult at the beginning. I think it was uncomfortable. Like ERP therapy is meant to make you uncomfortable. But I'm so better off because of it. And so, but it was just a little bit easier for me because it was not just, it just happened to be not at a time when I was like experiencing the worst of it, I guess. Like that's just been my experience.
Yeah. And there is sometimes a natural ebb and flow that
It, oh,
OCD
for
will
sure.
have, right? That,
Yeah.
it's a little easier, but it's not like it just goes away or
No,
anything like that. But
no,
yeah.
because even
Okay.
after I started therapy, the next week it flared up, and so I
There
was
you
so
go.
thankful that I was in therapy already, and that it was only days after that I could go and talk to my therapist about it, and just kind of like mitigate those compulsions right there. Like it was a huge resource to have.
A favorite phrase I heard, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but
Mm-hmm.
is you can only be brave if you're first afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I wonder about that because you're now presented with ERP, right? You're going to be asked to live in the discomfort of whatever your obsessions are, not
Mm-hmm.
do the compulsion, allow it to be there. And that's a brave step, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've been taught all along that if you don't do this compulsion,
Mm-hmm.
bad things will occur, right?
Yeah.
And so what was it like doing those first couple of ERP exercises and not giving in to OCD? And how did OCD react to no longer being listened to then?
Yeah. It was I guess the best way that I can describe it is it honestly felt unnatural because
Yeah.
like I was
Right.
so like used to doing these compulsions and so used
Mhm.
to this specific like structure, this routine, that to break that felt like a taboo. Like it felt like I should not be doing this. And it did feel very uncomfortable. I felt vulnerable. I felt like something bad could happen. It honestly even led to some physical like symptoms. My chest would like tighten up and I would
Mhm.
just start to like feel panicked. Maybe that might be too extreme of a word because I knew that this was like the key to overcoming, you know, the debilitating compulsions. But I did for sure feel in the moment very uncomfortable, very just on guard, that something might happen, and it might be because I broke my rituals, like something like that might happen and it'll be my fault. That's what I was like really afraid of.
Mhm.
When we first started doing ERP, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that OCD has done nothing but lie to you the
Yes,
entire time, right?
exactly.
There's got to
Exactly.
be some amazing liberation in that recognition.
Yeah.
And at the same time, still this pull to always go back to the OCD too, just in case it might be right this time, even though
Yeah.
it was not right ever before, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. That's why, I mean, my compulsions would kind of come up throughout the day, like it would just be like anything. Like I'm afraid of it's just be anything like happening, any bad thing happening. And then whatever it is that I'm doing at that time, it would manifest that way. So it's like, oh, if I'm driving, I need to tap on my steering wheel. I need to touch this thing. A lot of it, mine was like touching things, I guess. And so it was about resisting that. And so I would just make sure to keep doing that throughout the day. You have to like stick with it. And then because it's so easy to fall back into, if you just do like, well, I'll just do this one. Then you're starting to tell yourself that, oh, you need to do all the other ones too, because if you already did this thing, what, you're telling yourself that it's real and that you have to do the other ones too. So you just have to get into a mindset, I guess, where you can fully accept that there is no link and that you will feel better in the long run not giving into them, even if you are totally uncomfortable in the moment. That's what I've learned with ERP is like it's okay and it's beneficial to feel uncomfortable for a little bit. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did it affect your work?
Mm-hmm. Like when, like the peak of like my OCD, like when did
Yeah.
that? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Like like every little thing, every little part of what I do was affected in some way by OCD, from like the script writing process of like when I'm writing my videos, to when I'm recording, like, and editing, especially when I'm recording and editing, is when they were it was the most present. I would tell myself, I would like record a line, and then I would tell myself, oh, you said it a certain way where now this bad thing is going to happen. So you need to record that. You need to say that line again and make it sound like you need to feel right. You know, you need to record it again and feel right. Even though the line was perfectly fine, I wasn't re-recording it because I didn't like how I sounded. It was just about how in my brain it just felt wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it was a very difficult thing to pinpoint. And so I'd just be like, okay, you know, I'm here, I'm recording, so I'll re-record the line again. And sometimes that wouldn't feel right. So I'd have to do it again and again. And it would just, there would be times where I'd record the same line like 6 times, and it'd just be in the audio file like over and over and over. And then when I went back to edit it, I would just know, oh, I recorded this a million times, I need to cut all this out, you know? And then even when I'm editing the video, it's like, okay, you need to use this filter on this clip, or else X bad thing is going to happen. Or you need to click on this thing or else before you do this task, or else this bad thing will happen. It infected like every part of the video making process, frankly. Yeah. And so it became a thing where I was like, kind of, it made it hard to make videos, which is the thing that I love doing more than anything. And that's what I've heard from other, you know, my friends who have OCD, who have said like, it does get, it stops you from doing the things you love, you know. It takes that away from you.
As you look back now, do you think those bad things didn't happen because of all the compulsions you did, or just that they probably weren't going to happen?
They just weren't going to happen.
Okay.
No. I'm very, very aware of that. And I was aware of it at the time too, you know, but it's just, I just would feel better. I would rather, at the time, I would rather that than to feel that anxiety and feel like I'm doing something wrong. That's what it was when I was like starting to really fight back against these compulsions with ERP. Is I felt like I was doing something wrong. You know, it was tough.
I think of it like this: I could know it, or I could know it and I could feel it. And isn't that even better than just knowing it? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Once you do that compulsion, then you feel it too.
Yes, exactly. It's horrible. You know, it's just like,
such an ass of a disorder, isn't it? I mean, it really
it totally is. Yeah, I know. It just takes it can take over everything. It really can.
What's different now that you've gone through treatment? How's your life different?
The way I described it to my therapist is like, I feel a weight lifted off. My brain feels like it works better. You know, like I feel my mind is clearer because I'm not being bogged down by all these distractions. That's how I would categorize my compulsions before, is it was just like a distraction. It was like an unnecessary stress next to all the other stresses that I was having. It's just like this other thing that I need to do, you know, in order to feel a little bit better. But then of course, in the long run, it just makes me feel worse because it's like giving me more to do and, you know, would take over my thoughts. And so now I feel like I can think clearer. I don't have to, I just feel like my life is easier now because I don't have to go through all these like annoying rituals anymore, you know. And I still do get the thought occasionally to like, oh, I better do this thing or else X bad thing will happen. But I feel much more equipped to tune that out now. You know, I think of what my therapist told me, and this was something that I had never really, I hadn't looked at it this way, but, you know, my therapist told me, you know, this bad thing that you're afraid of happening, she didn't tell me like it will not happen if you don't do the compulsion. She just told me it could still happen. And you need to be okay with knowing, with the uncertainty that it may happen or it may not happen. But regardless of what happens, you will be okay and you will be able to, you know, deal with that situation when it comes, if it comes, you know, and letting go in that sense and just kind of accepting that, yeah, this thing that I have no control over, it could go either way. But whatever I do here, whether I wash my hands or do whatever, like that's not going to have any bearing on whether or not it happens. I might as well just not do it. You know, I might as well just deal with the negative thing if it comes. And looking at it from that perspective has really helped me just kind of like be like, okay, you know, whatever happens, happens in a way, you know, and it's like, I'll be able to navigate the situation regardless, no matter what happens. But I might as well just not make things harder for myself by doing all these compulsions throughout the entire day, just because I'm afraid of this thing happening, you know?
Yeah. I've not met anyone who said compulsions made their life easier. By any means.
Right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for sure.
Now, you didn't have to go public about this part of you. What inspired you to talk about it?
I think I have just, if it's a few reasons, part of it is I feel like it's a little bit therapeutic for me to talk about it, because for years and years and years, I felt like I couldn't talk about it, or I didn't feel a reason to talk about it. It's like it was such a normal part of my life that I didn't even feel like it was worth like remarking. Like, yeah, I didn't even feel like it was worth bringing up, because it was like such a normal, it's like eating and drinking, you know, it's like, it's just like a normal part of life. And so I didn't feel like it was worth talking about for a long time. But after talking to some of my friends who like learning how many other people in my life had OCD, that for the longest time I didn't know they had OCD, that kind of made me realize it's like, okay, and I always knew this, it's like people with OCD are very good at hiding the fact that they have OCD, because as we've touched on, like it's a difficult thing to bring up, you know, because you just assume it's so crazy that other people are not going to know what you're talking about. But if they've experienced it, they completely know what you're talking about. And talking to several of my friends who have experienced the same thing, that made me feel more comfortable to talk about it publicly. And I felt like it was kind of important to talk about publicly, because so many people go through it silently and like just don't feel a need for one reason or another to reach out. But I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to talk to someone else about it. Like when I started talking to people about it, that's when things really changed for me, for sure. Yeah. You know, so I think it's important.
How's the response been to talking about it?
It's been very positive, and I have had people reach out to me and say that they've also dealt with similar feelings. I even, just to, you know, personally speaking, my mom actually watched one of your videos on the NOCD. I know, on the channel. Yeah, after I had talked about it on my channel, she went and looked at your video. I'm not kidding. And she said that a lot of what you said really resonated with her. And I think there are so many people out there that maybe don't know that they have this thing, because it's, for the longest time for me, I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what I had heard of OCD as, like, of course we all know the stereotypes, you know, I had heard of it in that sense, but I didn't understand that was what I was experiencing, you know, in the more clinical sense, you know, until I started doing more research. And so I think awareness is incredibly important, because it will help people seek treatment, and it can show them that, you know, treatment is possible, recovery is possible. Yeah.
Well, you caught my little intro fun when I said a little OCD, because how many people, when you now say you have OCD, say, oh, I have a little OCD.
Right? I know. It's like, oh, I just have to have things neat and organized. Yeah.
And that's that stigma, right? That's the thing you see, and you think, well, I must not have OCD because I'm not like that, what you see on TV. Or what I think the unfortunate piece is that when you hear that everyone has a little OCD, then it must not be a big deal to have OCD if everybody has a little OCD.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, why seek treatment for this thing that everybody experiences? You know, it can't be that bad, you know? Yeah. And you start to downplay it to yourself, and that can be really dangerous as well, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Now that you're here, you know, and you look back on the development of the OCD over time, what did you miss, like early on? What do you think?
Like before I really knew what OCD was?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like everything, you know, like I just thought, I didn't even know what to call it back then. I was just like, I gotta do this thing, or else, you know, a horrible thing will happen, you know? And so I feel like I just overlooked everything. I just missed like all of the signs until it just hit me. Like I remember specifically, I was watching like an episode of a show, and this, it was like more of a documentary. This person had OCD, and it was showing like how severe it was. And I was like, that's how I feel, like that's exactly what it's like. And it was scary. And it was also like, it just, I don't know, things clicked. It was relieving in a way, because I was like, okay, I know what this is. I can maybe address it a little easier now, but it was also scary to see how severe it could get, And so I was always afraid of, what would happen if I did not seek in some kind of treatment,
Yeah.
There's that too.
Might be an interesting show for you in the future of the misportrayal of OCD in the media or something.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, there's definitely something there to talk about. There's a lot to talk about there. Yes.
Now that you're out about OCD and what's going on, people sometimes fear taking the risk to even say, that mental health phrase, right? And I appreciate you saying it, because it helps to break down the stigma that we still kind of hold, that it's okay to have a physical problem, but it's not okay to have a mental health problem. And there are such good treatments out now for mental health issues.
Yes.
Yeah, just like there are for physical health issues. And hopefully people will come around more and more to the notion that none of us are in total control of our brain, just like none of us are in total control of our body.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's such an important thing for people to come to terms with. It's just like treating a mental illness the same way you would treat a physical ailment, treating it with that same degree of like seriousness, and the same, like you really want to attack it. You really want to do everything you can to like treat it in any, like, because you can't just let that go like untreated, because then it's like you let it spiral out of control. It's the same with like a physical ailment. You can't just ignore it. You're not going to be able to function if you ignore a mental ailment, a disorder. Then you are going to get to a point where it becomes harder for you to get through the day, and you're gonna have to. I think you just have to seek treatment eventually. You, like, for me, it's like I was just like looking for any sort of like opening, like any sort of out, like just to breathe a little bit. And that's why I was like reading other people, their testimonies and everything like that. That was kind of a way for me to like, breathe and realize it was going to be okay. But it was not like the real treatment that I got later that has helped me more than anything else. So, yeah.
What's your advice for people who are thinking about treatment? They're kind of on the fence, and should I do it or not?
I would just say there's no harm in trying, because like, I wish I had tried it much sooner. I used to tell myself like, it's not worth the time. Like, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be like hard to find the right person, the right treatment plan. But with OCD, I mean, it is ERP is the way to go. It has helped me feel so much better. And, going through the treatment has helped me in ways that I it's transformed my life. And so like, I wish I could go back in time and tell myself 5 years ago, like, hey, get treatment now. And in 5 years, you're going to be at a much better place. It's like, you can start your treatment plan. I wish I'd started it much earlier. So it's like, it's never too late to start, but it's like, you will thank yourself later on for getting started as soon as possible. I think it's just, you might as well just see what it's like, because it's not fun to have OCD. And I can guarantee that going through the treatment and being able to reach out and talk to another person who actually understands what it is you're going through, that's going to be better than just going through it in silence and having to deal with the compulsions by yourself. It will be better than that. So I can promise. Yeah.
How about on the family side? I'm kind of interested in your mom's reaction to the video. Have they seen a difference, and what do they say?
Yeah, they definitely, I think they see that I'm like less on edge, that I'm like less stressed out about things. That like I said, like I feel like I'm more present now. And that is something that I'm sure that they've picked up on. We've talked about it, and it's transformed so many parts of my life, so I definitely think that that's something they've noticed. And in like, as far as it goes with my mom, like she I think the same thing, where it's like she didn't maybe know what the feelings of like what OCD was, like, without the stigma. Like, she didn't know what it actually was. Similar to how I was. And hearing it from like the actual perspective, like hearing about what it really is, has made her maybe look at the way that she goes about certain things in her life. Like, she told me about some of the compulsions that she has, that she didn't know were like OCD until she heard me talk about it more. And also when she watched your video. I mean, like, that that was one thing I wanted to bring up in this podcast, is that she did watch
Hi, Mom.
it. Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hi.
And she was like, that video is just like, amazing. And it made her think about the way that she sees certain things too. So
that's awesome, because there is a genetic component potentially in this.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've seen online. My sister has it as well. So I mean, it's I can definitely understand that.
Well, I'm thrilled that you got treatment, and that we were able to help you through NOCD. I think that that's amazing. And of course, treatment is not just a one-time thing, right? There's the ability for maintenance work, and just to be there and to have support with your therapist for years to come, knowing that OCD is a chronic condition, and we at NOCD want to be helpful to people throughout the rest of their life. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's something you got to keep working on and keep being aware of, because, if something happens where my anxiety spikes, because all of my compulsions were very much related to my anxiety. I'm sure that's the case for many other people that have OCD. If my anxiety spikes, my compulsions really want me to give in, and so to continue going to therapy and to continue working on it, even when you feel like you've improved so much, it is important. The maintenance is so important, so that you don't slip back into those same ways, for sure. Yeah.
Well, what's your last message of hope to people out there who are listening? And here's your chance to inspire.
I would really just say that, like, treatment is so like, going through professional treatment is so much more important than I may have realized like 5 years ago. It is necessary, I think, in order to move forward, and just being able to talk to somebody can make a huge difference, because if I was still going through it without telling anybody how I felt, I don't know how I would like continue, like, with I would just, it just eats away at you. And so, like, I would say, reach out to anyone. Definitely look into professional help at ERP. And I would say that I am proof that, like, treatment and recovery is very much possible, and it's worth it. It's worth going through the time, the time and effort that it takes. It is so worth it. You are going to be better off for it. You're going to feel lighter. Your life is just going to become easier if you can, like, if you are dedicated and you're willing to take the time and just work with someone about it, talk to somebody about it. I would say it's completely necessary and worth it. So
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, Jay, thank you for being here today on the Get to Know OCD podcast. It's been a great chat, and hopefully very inspiring to people to realize that you can get help. You can live the life you want to live, and not the life that OCD wants you to live. And you can be a productive, wonderful member of society, even, and this is the shocker for some, even if you have OCD, right? Because some people are like, no, I can't have this. It has to go away. I have to be cured. We never once have we said we've cured anyone. We've taught people how to live with OCD. And once you learn how to do that, you live the life you want.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been another great episode. Thank you all for joining today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jay. This has been amazing. And where can they find you, Jay? If anybody wants to see some of your stuff, where will they go?
Yeah, my channel is just Jay Aubrey on YouTube, the letter J and then Aubrey. And then I am active on Twitter. It's just Jay Aubrey YT for YouTube, because Jay Aubrey was taken. So
well,
that's where people can find me.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. And if you're looking for more of the Get to Know OCD podcast episodes, check us out at NOCD.com or go to the NOCD YouTube channel and you can subscribe there. If you're also looking for help for OCD or other related conditions, because we work with body-focused repetitive behaviors and hoarding and tics and trauma and anxiety disorders and mood conditions, also go to NOCD.com for that. That's NOCD.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves and be better to yourselves than OCD ever would be. Thanks, everyone.